Hi, we are with Sebastian Burduja. I was corrected. It's not Burduja, it's Burduja. Is that correct?
Very, very true.
Very true. So, Sebastian Burduja.
I appreciate the
Lovely.
rigor.
Sebastian is a Harvard and Stanford alumnus. He has worked in UN Economic Commission for Europe. He had a short, brief tenure even at the World Bank. Currently, he is vice president of the oldest liberal party here, PNL.
Exactly.
Correct?
Yes.
Sebastian,
That pretty much says it all.
aka Tiano. Why
Yes.
do you insist you should be called Tiano? Tiano means loan, right?
Well, no, it means nothing in Romanian. It's just a nickname.
I just looked up for Tiano and it said loan. I said something to do with bank. Your father was in bank, so maybe.
No. It means nothing in Romanian. I don't know about, maybe in other languages it might mean something, but
Lovely.
who knows?
Sebastian, you had a fairly eventful life. It's practically like you've seen everything, you know.
I don't know about that. I think you guys have seen everything by now.
We are trying to actually, in physical sense, but you've really seen everything at a very young age. And you know what, you've also seen that the most liberal country and the most powerful and the large nations are moving towards asserting their national identity, right-wing, polarized. So, liberalism may not be interrupted this time, may move back to 1930. What is your opinion?
I think that's the biggest challenge of the day. We have many societies around the world where I think people are getting disengaged from day-to-day workings of society, from government, which leaves room for, you know, populism, extremism, pretty much everything that has gone wrong with this world before.
Correct.
And you know, I guess if history doesn't repeat itself, and I really hope it doesn't. I mean, it'd be pretty bad. At least, you know, they say it rhymes. So I think it's rhyming now with what we've seen before in the interwar period, and we have to be very careful. And one of my goals is actually to get people to care again, to get re-engaged, to believe again that their vote matters, that their voice matters, that you know, they should even run for office.
Correct. Now, you know, your neighbor Hungary.
Right.
Now, you know, Hungary has the highest per capita Nobel laureates in the world. And not many people live in Hungary.
Right.
Indians, for example, a lot of Indians now head corporations outside India, like Google is the head of the organization is Indian, Microsoft, Pepsi.
Yeah, and I had many colleagues both at Stanford and Harvard.
In your case, even McKinsey, at one time head was an Indian, right?
Yep.
Now, these are the global face of India. They also influence policy change in India. You know, they help the way world looks at India.
Right.
All right. Now, why would Romania insist on Romanians to come back when they can excel outside?
Right. I mean, I get your point, and I think there's plenty of Romanians outside the country who are changing the world and doing great things. You know, if you look in the history of the country, a very positive force was the diaspora who came back. So if you go back as far as 1848, where the national movement for building Romania essentially started, it was led by young people, very young people in their 20s and 30s who had the opportunity to study abroad in Paris, Berlin, Vienna, whatever. And then they came back with the spirit of the time and said, we got to change this country and we got to make it independent. We got to get out of the Ottoman and Austro-Hungarian, Russian influences and build our own country here. And so, keeping proportions, we're not saying that 1848 needs to happen all over again, but I do think that Romanians abroad who are used to competing in a meritocratic system, if they come back, that's going to be really good for us.
From a different country standpoint, like of course Romania needs its brains, its limbs, its body, but it looks like that Romania is again trying to instill that national identity amongst its diaspora outside. This is not liberal.
Yeah, well, look, I think liberalism and some sense of national identity can coexist.
Correct. Now, there are certain problems which are very symptomatic. They are not the real problems. For example, climate change is a symptomatic problem. The real problem is literacy and poverty.
Yeah.
So in India, if you want to address climate change, first you need to alleviate the poverty. First you need to take off the firewood from the system, and only then it will happen. It will not happen overnight, right?
Absolutely.
Similarly, over here, what the problem you are addressing is corruption.
Yeah.
The real problem could be something else. I think this is my own personal opinion, the Romanian real problem is infrastructure, lack of the small and medium enterprises, which you don't have plenty.
Yeah.
These are your real problems which needs to be addressed.
Yep. No, I agree with you. And I do think that it starts with education, and I think it starts with a change in mentality. After all the years of communism, you don't end up with a lot of entrepreneurship, with a lot of initiative. There's a lot of fear of failure.
Correct.
If this country and any country in the world, any society is going to succeed, you're going to need a lot of entrepreneurship, a lot of creativity, a lot of breaking these boundaries. And I think, talking about education, our system is a lot of taking the information, writing it down, and repeating it back. We got all that on the internet now. And it's kind of changed over the past 30 years. The world has changed. And I think we should be teaching our kids, not just here, around the world, how to think, how to solve problems, not what to think or what to say or what the capital of a certain country is. That's just my thought. But no, I'm fully with you, and I think the root cause of corruption and nepotism and a lot of lacking of infrastructure, that's because we have very, very incompetent people in positions of power.
So Sebastian, when you took to street in your call to rise against corruption, you have faced rejections. You might have faced rejection, right? People wouldn't have taken you seriously.
Yeah.
So when was the time when? Yeah. So when was the time when actually people sat up and it took notice about you?
Well, first of all, one comment about getting rejected, because I think it's very important for any young person out there, or really anybody who's thinking of going into politics or serving their own. They will get rejected. They will face a lot of dirt. It's not an easy thing to do with the best intentions. Some people are not going to believe you. Many people are going to think that you're just another crook who's trying to take their money. And guess what? After decades of people doing this, you kind of say, okay, I get that. But the point is not to get put down by that. Because what I do is always tell myself, look, it's not about myself. This battle is not about what I'm trying to do. It's about the people I'm trying to serve. And this dirt, these rejections, they cannot affect me because it's not about me. It's about doing something better for the people around. There was a huge rally back in January of 2017. The government was trying to roll back anti-corruption reforms. And I was invited on an international TV channel and gave an interview, and that kind of went viral. And then BBC came and they interviewed me, and that went viral those days. And strangely enough, I think it was the media abroad that kind of made me better known in Romania. And then last year in June, we had a protest. Actually, the protest was in August, but in June I called out for people in the diaspora to come home on August 10th and protest, and about 100,000 people came. And that video, which was filmed in the airport on a whim, I didn't have a script or anything. I just said, hey, I'm Sebastian Burduja, I came back, this is Romania, let's take our country back, come back on August 10th. And that went viral, went to about 2 million people in Romania, abroad. And I guess it's just, speaking from a place of authenticity, sharing our stories, kind of what you guys are doing. And I think it's a wonderful thing. And people will respond. I think they sense when somebody's genuine, ultimately, and they're putting their lives on the line for a cause that's beyond ourselves.
So when you face all this skepticism, there is a self-doubt which is created, right? You self-doubt, you have a doubt about your methodology, about your ideology.
Yeah, even about your intentions.
Am
I really in this for the good? I mean,
so how do you handle that, and how do you keep moving?
Yeah, I think it's, in my case, I think it's a lot about family and my wife, our kids, and these values that we're trying to instill and move forward. Just got to remember again why we're doing this. And
Correct.
and oftentimes when I'm rejected, even these days we're out on the streets collecting signatures to endorse the president for re-election. We need 200,000 signatures.
Correct.
And there are a lot of people who are saying, nah, I don't care, I'm not interested, or I hate the guy, or I hate you, and get out of here, you crook.
What is your success marker in public life, in your own public life?
To leave something behind.
Mm-hmm.
I think the greatest lesson that I took away from my mentor, the Harvard Kennedy School, is that you have one life, and there's a simple lesson to that, which is at the end of it, you put your head on the pillow for the last time and you look back. And the question is, the supreme test is, have you left behind more than you took away from this world? I think we're all going to get there sooner or later.
Excellent.
And I don't think it's about, how much money you make or how many beaches you visited or whatever. I think it's really about, have you made the world a better place?
Wow, Sebastian. Now there are two questions we ask every influencer.
Sure.
Sebastian, you're a great influence. You bring a change in the society,
Okay.
and you influence the Romanian society.
No, you're very kind. I don't know about that. But I hope my wife will surely watch this, and she'll have an even better opinion of me, which I hope she already has.
Sebastian, what is your word to the youth, to the young?
Yeah.
You are young, but still,
Right.
go ahead and say that.
Well, let me tell you, my life journey a little bit, and I used to think that, I think like a lot of people, a lot of young people, life is about being happy, and whatever makes you happy. But I've realized through my own life experiences, and I've gone through hell, unfortunately, that life is not about being happy, because life is fundamentally tragic in many instances. You lose family, you lose close friends, you go through poverty, you go through bankruptcy, and things can change from one day to the next. And there are things that are beyond our control. And so through those tough times, if your goal is just to be happy, I think you're becoming a very miserable person, because again, they're beyond your control. And so I think the goal of life, and I think my favorite book is Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. It's a short book by a Holocaust survivor.
Viktor Frankl.
Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. And this man pretty much lost everything in the camps. His entire family, kids, wife, and he was subjected to tremendous tortures. And
Correct.
but he survived all that by understanding that it is he who is asked what the purpose of his life is beyond all that. I mean, despite all that. And he's still a free man because he can ask that question. And I think every one of us can ask that question no matter what happens to us. And in my case, my answer is do something, leave something behind, change society. I believe in the role of political leadership as humanity's hope in a world where our world is pretty much imploding right now.
Right.
In so many instances, and I think we're all really responsible to do something about our own lives and about the world around us. And I think that's the sense, that's the purpose that keeps you going no matter what happens in your life.
Correct. Now, liberalism means that government will not interfere in businesses, right?
Right.
In economics, right?
Right.
Changing society greatly means bringing employment today, right? So a businessman can bring a more change than a politician. An artist can bring more change than a politician.
Depends which way you look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate the question, but at the end of the day, I think if you look at every country in the world,
Correct.
The government spends about, 100,000 times more a year than the largest corporation in that country. I mean, the resources at a government's disposal, even in countries that have limited government, are huge. They're massive. And, private company cannot typically build highways. They cannot typically build huge hospitals. They cannot typically build a mass education system. I'm all about private competition, but I think there's certain things that, at least in Romania's case, where we are now in our development phase, we need the government to do.
Sebastian, the sentiment behind our journey of traveling to Subir and I traveling to 60 countries, 300 days, 70,000 kilometers is celebrate life.
Yeah.
And we truly believe that you are also celebrating life, otherwise you wouldn't do what you're doing.
Yeah,
so
I love
Sebastian, what according to you is celebrating life?
Well, first of all, once again, I commend you guys for celebrating
Thank you so much,
life.
Sebastian. You've been very kind, actually.
No, I think you've been very kind, one, to come to Romania, and two, to include me in this journey.
Lovely.
I think celebrating life to me is again about this sense of purpose, to lead a life with purpose. And I think that requires mostly three things. I think one, it requires competence, to be good at what you're doing, to be whatever it is. I think
Correct.
you need to be pretty good at what you're doing.
Correct.
I think it requires character. I think it requires choosing the harder path, even though because it's moral and because it's right.
Correct.
And I think we need people of character. And I think it requires a cause beyond ourselves. I love people with ambition. I'm a very ambitious person. I've always tried to be among the best. But I think there's a risk in putting that ambition to the wrong end. And we need to keep in mind that it only makes sense if you do things for other people.
Excellent.
At the end of the day.
You're very inspiring. Very, very inspiring.
Not as inspiring as you guys.
And so kind that you came in here. Thank you so much indeed.
This is my pleasure, and thank you again.
Thanks for your time,
You guys are doing a wonderful thing.
Lovely.